The rain had been falling since morning, the kind that didn't rush but lingered, soaking everything slowly, quietly. It matched the mood of the funeral perfectly. Black umbrellas filled the cemetery like shadows pressed close together, everyone mourning, everyone lost in their own silence. Daniel stood a little apart from the crowd, his black coat worn thin at the cuffs. He held his young daughter's hand tightly, afraid she might slip on the wet grass. Being a single father had taught him many things, but attending funerals alone with a child was one lesson he never quite mastered. His daughter looked up at him with innocent eyes, unaware of the weight in the air, unaware of how fragile life truly was. Daniel didn't know the man being buried very well. He had worked as a caretaker for the estate years ago, doing odd jobs when money was tight. The job hadn't lasted long, but he had come to pay his respects. Gratitude, Daniel believed, mattered, even when no one was watching. As the service ended and people began to drift away, Daniel noticed her. She stood near the back, visibly pregnant, clutching her coat with trembling hands. Her face was pale, her breathing uneven. Everyone else seemed too absorbed in their own grief to notice. Daniel hesitated. He was tired. His feet ached. His daughter was cold, but something in the woman's eyes stopped him. Fear, loneliness, the kind that asks for help without words. He walked over gently and asked if she was all right. She tried to answer but her voice broke. She swayed slightly, nearly losing her balance. Without thinking, Daniel stepped forward, steadying her. He guided her to a nearby bench beneath a large oak tree and gave her his umbrella. Rain soaked his shoulders instantly, but he didn't care. She apologized over and over, embarrassed, explaining that she hadn't eaten all day and the long standing had made her dizzy. Daniel smiled kindly and told her it was nothing. He offered his daughter's jacket for extra warmth and sent his child to sit beside her, believing that kindness felt safer when shared. He walked to his old car, parked far away, and returned with a bottle of water and a sandwich he had packed for later. The woman's eyes filled with tears as she accepted them. She thanked him quietly, her hands shaking. They spoke only briefly. She said she had no family nearby. That the man being buried had once helped her when she had nothing. That coming to the funeral was her way of saying goodbye. Daniel listened, nodding, never interrupting. When she felt stronger, he helped her to a cab and made sure the driver knew where she was going. Before leaving, she held his hand tightly and said something he would never forget. "Please don't change," she whispered. "The world needs people like you." Daniel watched the cab disappear into the rain, then turned back to his daughter. They walked home soaked and silent. By the time they reached their small apartment, the moment had already begun to fade into memory, filed away with other small acts of kindness that had never brought anything in return. That night, after putting his daughter to bed, Daniel sat alone at the kitchen table, unpaid bills spread before him. The refrigerator hummed softly. Life, as always, felt heavy but familiar. Then his phone rang. An unfamiliar number lit up the screen. Daniel almost ignored it, assuming it was another telemarketer or debt collector. But something urged him to answer. The voice on the other end was calm, professional. A legal representative. Daniel was told to sit down. He was told to listen carefully. A man he had once worked for, the same man whose funeral he had attended that morning, had passed away. The man had no immediate family. After years of quiet observation, he had made an unusual decision regarding his estate. Daniel laughed nervously, certain there had been a mistake. He barely knew the man. He was just a caretaker. A nobody. The voice continued. The deceased had left behind an inheritance valued at $500 million. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. His hands began to shake. He thought it was a cruel joke. A scam. But the caller knew things. Details no stranger should know. His old address. His daughter's name. The years he had worked quietly, honestly, without complaint. Then came the reason. The man had believed wealth revealed who people truly were. He had watched Daniel from a distance, not through grand gestures, but through moments that mattered. Refusing bribes, helping neighbors, staying late to fix what wasn't broken just yet. And most importantly, showing kindness when no one was watching. Including that day at the funeral. The pregnant woman Daniel had helped was the man's private nurse, sent deliberately, not to test him, but to confirm what the man already believed. That Daniel's kindness wasn't an act. It was his nature. Daniel dropped the phone. Tears streamed down his face. Not because of the money, but because for the first time in his life, someone had truly seen him. The days that followed felt unreal. Lawyers, documents, meetings. The inheritance was real. Every cent. News outlets tried to find him. Headlines tried to define him. But Daniel stayed silent. The first thing he did was pay off his debts. The second was to move his daughter into a warm home filled with light and laughter. The third was quieter. He set up a foundation. One focused on single parents. On struggling families. On people who needed help but were too proud to ask. Years later, Daniel would still attend funerals. Still help strangers. Still give umbrellas to people in the rain. Because the truth was simple. The money didn't change him. It only proved what had always been true. A small favor, done with a genuine heart, has the power to echo far beyond the moment. And sometimes, when the world is watching in silence, kindness is the inheritance that matters most.